Welcome, friends. It's Frank here, and just interesting times we're living in. Just thinking of the US elections with the winner, President Trump, or President elect Trump, with a wave, a red wave, the MAGA wave, finally getting through over the line quite convincingly. In Australia, there's the MAGA movement, that's Make Australia Great Again movement happening. In Europe, it's the same thing now. There seems to be a big shift from the left to the right to the middle and back to the rule of law. Seems to be that there are many entities now who are quietly going about trying to go back to what it was. As I was contemplating the events in the US just recently, a couple of scriptures that came to my mind as a way of looking at them in a fresh light. The one in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 verses 1 to 3, about in verse 3 in particular, where they're talking about a time when they'll be saying peace and safety or peace and security, and then sudden destruction will be instantly upon them when they are saying these things. Another text is the one before that in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 as well. There's just something that is brewing at the moment on a global scale, especially amongst the nations, the hierarchy, that is the political, commercial entities, the globalists, the deep states, the whatever you want to call them. There is just something happening in the leaderships of the world. It's quite fascinating to watch. Are we seeing a move by Jehovah in cleaning out? I mentioned 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 about the judgment, or I think it might be wrong, it might be Peter, 1 Peter, where he talks about the judgment begins in the house of God. And I think sometimes that might be the case, that the judgment is in the house of God. But why these nations, these political nations, why referencing them as the house of God? Well, because the United States claims to be a Christian nation, a nation that is born on Christian values, and it's something that is inherent in them. Even their coin or their dollar note says, "In God we trust." So this God, I believe, is Jehovah. And I think Jehovah is cleaning house, and it has to start with the house of God first, before it moves out into the nations. Do I think this is the Father? No. I think the Father and Christ are trying to save as many people as possible before the wrath of God, that is, wrath of Yahweh, hits planet Earth. This is what I think. This is, of course, a refreshing of my own thoughts because of seeing Yahweh as not the Father, but as a separate God in his own right. So by doing so, I look at the world scene in a different way, and I look at our role as the body of Christ on planet Earth as ambassadors for the Lord. And the Lord is now living in us and working through us. And so we still have a message to proclaim, a solid message of salvation, to be born again, to come into the kingdom of the heaven, be part of God's kingdom, not of this world, as Jesus said. We're not of this world. The Apostle John says, those who are born of God are not of this world. In 1 John chapter 2, clearly says that. And so we should be thinking, I don't know, I'm not saying we should be, but for me, I'm thinking there's something happening. Do you sense that? Or do you have this, it's almost like Christ is letting us know, I don't know, that something is brewing. There's just some thoughts. But interesting, go through those texts in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, maybe 1 to 11, chapter 4, Peter's words. See, the wrath of God to me is not the Father's wrath. He's not an angry God. He's not a God that hurts people. His whole character is love, and the fruit of the Spirit and different aspects of love, if you like. He pours love into our heart, according to the Apostle Paul in Romans chapter 5. So he doesn't have wrath in him. This is wrath, and destruction is from the enemy, and death is from the enemy, not from the Father. Jesus is not about taking away life, but giving life. So just some thoughts there, and let me know what you think, if you like, or something to think about in your own time. There are many instances in the scriptures where you see how Yahweh or Jehovah acted, and through his envoys like Jehu and Moses and Joshua, and there was always some sort of carnage, some sort of takeover. When they were prepared to do the right thing, he backed them up, and there was some miraculous winnings under his leadership. And I think there's something happening today as well. This Donald Trump victory is anything but miraculous. It is but miraculous, in my opinion, right? They threw everything at him and the kitchen sink, and he still came out on top as a winner. So, I mean, the story's just beginning, and that's the thing about all this. It's quite fascinating to watch from the sidelines and see what happens. Take care, guys. We can talk again soon on another interesting topic, and I think I'll just explore this a little bit more as time goes by. Take care.